नमस्कार, सिक्किम क्रोनिकलको यो स्पेशल एडिसनमा यहाँहरू सबैजनालाई स्वागत छ। दर्शकवृन्द, आज हामी केही अति गम्भीर विषयलाई लिएर चर्चा परिचर्चा गर्न लागिरहेका छौँ। म आज तपाईहरू समक्ष यस एडिसनमा एकोस्ट्रिम को फाउन्डरसँग कुराकानी गराउन लागिरहेको छु, मिस्टर सोनाम ग्याल्चेनसँग। र उहाँको बारेमा भन्नुपर्दाखेरि हि इज वान अफ द को फाउन्डर्स अफ इकोस्ट्रिम। अनि इकोस्ट्रिम के हो भने इकोस्ट्रिम इज अ मल्टिडिसिप्लिनरी क्रिएटिभ स्टुडियो विच इनफ्याक्ट इज बेस्ड इन ग्याङटोक। तर उहाँहरूलाई अलिकति भिन्न प्रकारले हामी हेर्ने गर्दछौँ। वाट मेक्स देम मोर डिफ्रेन्ट इज बिकज दे बेसिकली पिच फर दिस क्रिएटिभ माउन्टेन इकोनोमी। र के हो यो क्रिएटिभ माउन्टेन इकोनोमी अनि के कस्ता कामहरू गरिरहेका छन् इकोस्ट्रिमले, यसबारे कुराकानी गर्नेछौँ। दि को फाउन्डर, वान अफ द को फाउन्डर्स सोनाम ग्याल्चेनसँग। सोनाम, वेलकम टु सिक्किम क्रोनिकल। सो आई वान्टेड दिस टु ह्यापन लाइक लङ टाइम ब्याक, तर मिलेको थिएन है। फर्स्ट एन्ड फरमोस्ट हामीलाई तपाईँले अलिकति इकोस्ट्रिमको जेनेसिसको बारेमा भनिदिनुहोस् न। मतलब what triggered the idea of starting Echostream? When was it started, and what was the core vision to start this?
Okay, so Echostream started in 2008, and started this entire initiative with my fellow NIDians and batchmates, Tenzing Ninze, Ranveer Singh, Karma Palzo, Karma Sonam, and the whole idea at that point in time when we started was really not, we didn't really have a vision as such. But what we really figured out is that that since we are from Sikkim, we got an opportunity to introduce design in many of the development agendas of the government. We were when we were working outside, we kept hearing about lots of things, problems, opportunities, problems being that we at that point in time we kept hearing about all the protests against the idle projects and all of that. Then we also kept hearing about how Sikkim was going ahead with the organic mission. So we understood that that at that point in time there was a lot of opportunity for design to be introduced, as a problem-solving activity. And it so happened that that the five of us were from different backgrounds. I'm a product designer by training. Tenzing is a communication designer specialized in exhibition design. Karma Sonam, she's a textile designer. Karma Palzo, he's an animation film designer. And then Ranveer, he's also an animation film designer. So what so happened is that we felt that we can look at a problem from different aspects. So we decided, like, let's put our minds together, let's start an initiative, let's see how it goes. So what we only had in 2008 wasn't a vision. We had an intent. We wanted to come back and we wanted to work with the government of Sikkim and all the different institutions who were focused on developing the state. It was only in 2015, that's when we realized that when we were doing the rebranding of Echostream, we had completed 8 years around that time, 7-8 years around that time. That's the time when we realized that we need to now have a vision. Because everywhere, every forum, every place we went and we were being introduced, or we introduced ourselves, we were introducing ourselves mostly as a multidisciplinary design studio, but we really didn't have a vision as such. We didn't know what we were actually good at, what our USP was. So eventually we kind of like said that, brainstormed everything, and we looked at a portfolio. And that's when we realized that most of our portfolio, most of the work that we have done was in a mountain specific context. Whether it's and I'm talking about almost about that time around 19 different sectors that we worked in: healthcare, education, tourism, culture, heritage conservation, with the rural management development department, and we basically worked with almost all the departments in Sikkim. And so in the most common thing between all of that was the mountain context. We were looking at creative solutions to solve problems related to the mountains, because that's when you start realizing that that when schemes are developed in Delhi, most of these things are actually not very geography specific. It's very regional specific, like Northeast region specific schemes, but it's not very geography specific, because Sikkim's geography is very different from Assam or from other states in the Northeast. So most of the times we actually don't qualify for this, and then us being such a small state, we were not being able to fit in anywhere. That's when we basically decided that let's have a vision, which basically is positioning design and our design studio Echostream as a consultancy which is focused on mountain-based development. So that's how the genesis of Echostream.
So, how does this creative mountain economy comes in? Because you said it was after 8 years, like you streamlined your vision and realized that most of the work you guys have done was like mountain based, right? So how did you guys then started pitching for this idea of a creative mountain economy?
Okay, so since 2008, we have almost have about 89 designers working with us so far. All these years of 10, we have just completed 10 years this 29th of April. So in 10 years, we've had almost about 89 designers who have come and worked with us. And the most common thing between all these 89 designers who have come and worked for us is, somewhere they came here, they understood, and they had some love for the mountains, for the kind of systems that we have, social, the peaceful environment, that the clean air we breathe, the organic food we eat, the clean water that we have. Because this is something most of these people who are coming from different parts of India, they are deprived of. There's air pollution, there's water pollution, there's like, some crime happening here, there, etc. So for Sikkim, it just ended up becoming like the very ideal space for creatives to come in. Yeah. And in our entire 10 years also, we just realized that, whether it's handicraft, whether it's food, whether it's the housewives who decorate their homes, everything in the mountains, we actually have creativity at different levels. From a house to an industry to in an office space and everything, you find creativity everywhere.
Right.
And that's why we say that okay, we have pharmaceuticals, we have hydro projects, we have these are the other industries. Then the largest employer are the government sector. What is it that is happening where our locals are not being employed? Yeah, and that's when we realize that there's a huge kind of a gap in terms of industries which are run by creative inputs. Yeah, and when we say creativity, it's not only pertaining to design. We are talking about authors, writers, poets, musicians, people in theater, people like you in the media. So people who actually are using creativity to solve day-to-day problems. Yeah, and we felt that that's the most sustainable economic model for a small state like Sikkim. Because if you look at the Forbes top 10 richest countries in the world, you'll find at least 5 to 6 countries which are mountain countries. Yeah, and if you look at their models, population wise, geography wise, more or less is the same. If you look at a neighbor, Bhutan, they follow a GNH system. Their population and our population more or less the same.
Gross National Happiness Program.
Gross National Happiness Program. They are a country, we're a state. Yeah, but what is it that Bhutan has done that it's actually getting lots of international thing, that it's in the top 5 happiest countries in the world. Yeah, why is it that Sikkim? What is that Sikkim is lacking? There's nothing that Sikkim is lacking here. Yeah, it's just that there's no focus. Yeah, and we feel that the creative mountain economy is a model which actually can work very well for our people in Sikkim, because it requires very little resources. It requires your application in terms of design thinking.
Right. So when we talk about this, naturally, conservation part comes, the preservation part comes, right? And when it comes in terms of preserving or conserving our tangible or intangible heritages, right? Do you think are we losing that essence of what we have, and we are not realizing that we are gradually losing it, and what can be done?
Yeah. So, Sikkim always had, like any other mountain states, we have a tradition of oral tradition of, passing on knowledge. Now, what has happened is our social systems and our lifestyles are changing. Yeah, this things of storytelling, oral storytelling, has been slowly replaced by other medias like the internet. Before that, television came in, and so many other things are changing. Everything's being serviced. Our entire, system of traditional knowledge has been very, very community driven. You make a house, is not built by so and so, but is built by a community. You do farming, yeah, is not by one farmer, but is a community which actually, ends up in terms of contributing to that aggregate output. So we have lost that systems. We have lost that system of how we as a community come together and solve a problem, yeah, and service things out. Yeah, what has happened is everything has become an app, or everything is becoming that one number which takes care of everything. Our interdependencies systems actually are all gone. So what happens is then everything then goes downhill there, right from our architecture. We have lost that. If you ask what is Sikkimese architecture, what's the answer? So if you look at all our traditional crops, our traditional crop varieties have been replaced by varieties which are actually more market friendly. We have lost all of that. We have lost even our labor, which they actually are the knowledge holders in terms of how to till difficult terrain like the mountains. We have lost all of them to schemes like Narega, and now one family, one job. So what we are really not being able to really focus at is something which is long term. And when I say creative mountain economy, it's not like 5 years, 10 years kind of thing. We are now trying to look at a future aspect of how Sikkim's economy should be driven. Because if you look at the context of when I'm talking about creative mountain economy, is to do with the 43% of India under drought right now. The whole world is now talking about climate change. Some countries have now just begun to understand what climate change is. Some countries are actually facing the impact of climate change, like places like Johannesburg in South Africa, where there's no water. So for a biodiversity rich state like Sikkim, then it becomes very important what kind of development model we need to introduce. Because if we introduce models in a way where all our natural resources are going to be all taken off, yeah, then the impact is not upstream, it's downstream. And which is why we keep saying that conservation and preservation model is not only a cultural identity safeguard. It's a strategy. It's a strategy to look at sustainability from not only Sikkim's point of view, from a global point of view. We have us being, when we say Kanchenjunga is a guardian deity, is protecting our interests. Every Sikkimese, responsibility, is not only towards each other. Now it's towards the global community. Every time there's an increase in temperature and the glaciers melt, countries like Japan should be worrying. Any island country should be worrying. Which is why you find JICA and all those agencies are investing a lot of money and everything on biodiversity conservation in the mountains. Why would a first world country like Japan come here all the way to Sikkim and in the northeastern states and invest in biodiversity conservation? Because they've seen that, they've foreseen it, that the moment the water level is going to rise, the first thing that's going to go are all the island countries. And some of the island things have already submerged. So when we are proposing this idea of creative mountain economy, is not only looking at livelihood and unemployment. It's looking at various other aspects of conservation and preservation and all of that into the strategy of the economy. Because if you move on to a very like an economy usually has that, it has a very consumerist nature. If the consumerist nature is not really guided by some sort of creative inputs or parameters or some guidelines, we're going to lose it. Tomorrow you are going to interview me and say that, Sonam, your creative modern economy has resulted in utilizing this many bamboo resources. So the idea is not that. The idea is how our ancestors have coexisted with nature. We want to continue that thing forward.
So do you think, like, because whatever we are discussing must be a policy driven, like, activity, right?
Absolutely.
So how much consciousness you find in the policymakers when it comes in terms of all this, whatever we are discussing, or do our state, particularly in contrast to Sikkim, we lack more researchers or, like, the documentation?
Absolutely.
Right? What is your point of view on this?
See, when I when in 2008 in 2007, the first document I could get a hold of was the Sikkim Industrial Development Policy. Before we merged into the Northeast Industrial Development Policy, we had our own Sikkim Industrial Policy. So I was going through it, and then subsequently I was going through the budget that came. And that year, the budget kept for R&D, research and development and design, was just 1 lakh rupees. Today we are in 2019. We have a new government. So if you really see the allocated budget kept for R&D, how much is that? So we really have to start assessing. You're definitely right. There's hardly any research done. And even the research that is done is not acknowledged, and it's not even those policies that have been developed, framed, those studies that have been taken up, the kind of advisories that have been given as per those documents are not being taken up. And the reason why that is there is that our government mechanisms are designed in such a way that it really does not eventually end up in terms of implementation. The only one thing that is as a policy, not really as a policy but as a mission, which is sustained over some few years and all, is the organic mission. It has its problems. Nobody can negate that. It has its problems, but there is a systematic system in place in the organic mission. Is only the management aspect of it is something which we are all, on social media and other places we are debating. Similarly, with the creative mountain economy, policy itself is not enough. If the administrative systems and the mechanisms are not in place, are not revised or re-looked at, whatever policy we come up with, it's not going to work. Now this whatever economic model that we are trying to propose is being proposed from a point of view of all the creative individuals who are working together right now. So it's not really a policy, but it's an understanding. And let's see how long that understanding can go.
So before it's too late, what can be done? I mean, we know we are a very fragile state. So
no, I mean, see, if you talk to any environmentalists, or if you talk to any people working in the conservation field, they probably will say that's too late. In some cases, but the good thing is that what has happened in the past 10 years is that there's a huge kind of awareness amongst the younger generation. And that's a hope that can carry forward. You find a lot of people talking about things openly, not being afraid of coming in front of a camera and saying things out loud, talking to governments, giving very critical analysis of their policies and all of that. That's a fresh change. In terms of the damage that has been done, it's done. Now we really have to start figuring out, how are we for how long are we going to survive? If you have to, when I say this thing, you have to look really outside Sikkim. Because the whole problem is that we've always thought about Sikkim in isolation.
Right.
We've been very selfish that way. Oh, we are getting clean air, we're getting organic food. Look at those guys. If their politicians are not doing anything about it, it's their bad luck. Our guys are good. But we have to stop doing that now. We have to stop this whole Sikkimese attitude. We are global citizens now. Whatever lifestyle choices that we are going to choose today as Sikkimese people is going to make an impact to that many people downstream. Yeah, so we have, as Sikkimese people, we have a huge responsibility at our hand. Yeah, so when we are protesting against anything to do with the rivers or to our natural resources and all, it has to be understood at a global
Context.
It cannot be looked at just for one community getting affected or one region in Sikkim getting affected. It cannot be looked at it anymore. So this is a time where all the younger generations who are actually going out and really talking about it, they need to be encouraged. They need to be told that they need to be guided well.
But don't you think because the initiative like Zero Waste Himalaya
Yeah.
or the initiative like the Lachin gyms are coming up with banning of the drinking water,
Absolutely.
bottles in the area, somehow triggers a kind of awareness and initiatives amongst the community. So how do you see this positive aspect unfolding?
Absolutely. It's for me personally. For me, these things are very inspiring. Because there are people who I don't even know who are really going all out of the way. I don't know, sacrificing whatever, maybe putting money from their own pocket also at times, and really going out of the way to find solutions. And they're actually not talking about it, they're actually doing it
Through actions.
so
Right.
it's very inspiring. Every time there's a report or there's something that keeps coming up like that, it's very inspiring for us. Then what happens is that we as designers here, because I have to admit on camera here and to you also that most of the problems that you see all over the world, designers are part of the problem. We are the guys who are actually sitting there and giving you those 10,000 options for mobile phones or television sets or ACs or cars or something or other. Yeah, but we are also part of the solution. Yeah. And when you find people like like organizations like Zero Waste Himalaya and the Zoomsa and all of this thing doing all this
KCC.
and WWF, all those guys doing ECOS, all these guys are doing all the work all over the years without asking for any some sort of accolades or whatever. They are doing selflessly all this work. Then what happens is for us, we find collaborators. We find that we actually not mad, and we actually are not
Alone in the
and in a bubble and thinking of very ideal world and ideal community and ideal government. But there are other peoples from different walks of life. They're also doing their bit in their own way, in their own processes. The point is now that it's a time for all of us to come together and they really start finding out spaces and areas of collaboration.
You need more people to push the envelope eventually.
Absolutely. And I just want to also say that it might just look like when you say that creative mountain economy, sustainability solutions, all of that, it might be projected that designers can solve the world, solve the problems, but it's not that. When we work on different projects, like we're redesigning the textbooks for government schools in Sikkim, we are working with almost about 180 school teachers from different parts of Sikkim. Yeah, and with the Ashim Premji Foundation and with UNESCO and GIP team, There's a big team that actually is sitting down and we coming down to finding solutions to designing textbooks.
Right.
You know, so the when we say this solutions and all, it's not really only coming from design. It's coming from different, you know,
Layers of
specialization,
specialization.
different kinds of you know, inputs coming from society. So, you know, the solution right now is either we wait for some sort of a you know, government of India scheme to come and say that, hey, oh, there's lots of funds now there's enough funds, let's do something. Or we sit down and we all of us sit down around the table and we say that, okay, this is what the problem is, the scheme should be like this, and we tell the government of India, please make a scheme like this, or please make a policy like this. Right now is the ulta system.
The stakeholders are never like,
Yeah,
basically, if any policy is like, you know, made, so it's like in a pan-India perspective.
yeah. So because I can understand, you know, India is such a big country, so diverse. Yeah, it's very difficult to find focus that ways. You know, when you do budgeting and all that, the guys sitting down and doing the budget, you probably have a window of 1 month to make that budget because the datas are coming late, etc., or something or other. You know, but now is the time frame we have to stop waiting for the center to find solutions for us. We need to sit. We have capable people, you know, in the state. You know, we have guys, you know, who are like, I mean, what they have done in their professional lives, I mean, it's amazing. We just need to get everybody together and sit down and figure out how to now find what kind of solutions do we need to have.
Absolutely. Sonam, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best for this initiative.
Thanks,
Wonderful creative mountain economy.
Thanks.
We do hope to see a light in the end of the tunnel eventually.
Hopefully very soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonam. र उहाँ हुनुहुन्थ्यो सोनाम ग्याल्छेन, इनफ्याक्ट द को फाउन्डर अफ एकोस्ट्रिम, एन्ड इट वाज, आई मस्ट से, भेरी एनलाइटनिङ डिस्कसन विथ हिम। र तपाईँले आफ्नो कमेन्ट्सहरू मुनि इनबक्समा दिन सक्नुहुनेछ। अनि यस्तै प्रकारको इस्युजहरू, यस्तै प्रकारको डिस्कसन्स, डेलिब्रेसन्सहरू लिएर हामी तपाईँहरू माझ आउनेछौँ, बिकज वाट वी फिल इज लाइक दिस काइन्ड अफ डिस्कसन वुड गिभ एन ओपिनियन एन्ड अ पर्सपेक्टिभ। थ्याङ्क यू सो मच फर वाचिङ विथ माई टिम आशिष गुरुङ एन्ड विमल राई। दिस इज निर्मल रिपोर्टिङ फर सिक्किम Chronicle.